Welcome back to Yusof Reacts, film enthusiasts. Today, we dive into the epic world of Marvel Universe, where there is a surprise that has taken everyone with a shock that Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom may have a unique parallel to the new Ultimate Universe. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is reaching a divisive apex. Marvel announced over the weekend at San Diego Comic-Con that star Robert Downey Jr. will be returning to helm the MCU's Phase 5 finale. Of course, fans are now well aware of the twist behind this surprising reunion. RGG won't be stepping in front of the cameras to reclaim his title as the invincible Iron Man, but will instead be playing the villainous Doctor Doom in Avengers Doomsday and its finale, Avengers Secret Wars. Despite never appearing in the MCU, Doom is a villain Marvel fans are already familiar with. Downey Jr. will be taking on the role of the Fantastic Four's most iconic villain, Reed Richards' arch-rival and one of Marvel's most ambitious villains. At least, that's what we assume. Backlash on Downey Jr.'s casting as Doctor Doom has mostly been levied under the assumption he'll be Victor Von Doom. Criticisms point out Von Doom's Romani heritage, which RGG lacks, and the character's strong and necessary ties to the Fantastic Four, which the MCU lacks. But the name Victor Von Doom may not be part of the character, and the man behind the metal mask may not be who fans expect. Downey Jr. won't be returning as the Iron Man he's become synonymous with, but early details of his casting imply he could be modeled after a more recent variant of Tony Stark. More specifically, he bears several similarities to the version of Iron Man present in Marvel's latest reboot of the Ultimate Universe. In the early 21st century, Ultimate Marvel was intended to be a simple, streamlined version of its brand's main comic universe. For nearly a decade, it succeeded at this. Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate X-Men, and the Ultimates all proved to be incredibly popular titles that would even go on to influence their mainline counterparts and the MCU. But after nearly a decade of stories, Earth-1610 became just as steeped in canon as Earth-616, defeating its intended goal of universal accessibility. The now infamous Ultimatum event was created to trim the Ultimate Universe's inhabitants, and led to the ultimate version of Reed Richards turning to the dark side as the villainous Maker. In Secret Wars, the Maker was able to migrate to Marvel's new Prime Earth, where he began working to recreate his universe. After several years, his work bore fruit in the Ultimate Invasion storyline, where the villainous Richards was able to build Earth-6160, a new universe curated by his singular vision. Ultimate Invasion sees Richards recruit Howard Stark to help build the Immortus engine, the device that will ensure his eternal rule over their dimension. But the Maker is opposed by two key figures. The first is his new universe's native Reed Richards, who's been kept prisoner in the Maker's city in a metal mask, bearing more resemblance to Doctor Doom than any Mr. Fantastic. The second is a rebellious being existing at the end of time known as Kang the Conqueror. While the character's name and color scheme seem familiar, his Iron Man-esque armor and actions imply that he's what Earth-6160's Tony Stark will eventually become. In the present, Ultimate Invasion's finale sees Tony Stark begin as Iron Lad, ready to follow in his father's footsteps and, unwittingly, those of his worst-case future self, to create a new age of heroes. Of course, the future predicts his success rate will be mixed at best. The story of Ultimate Invasion and the fledgling Ultimate Tony Stark are relatively new, but Iron Lad's limited initial arc and the villain he eventually becomes create prominent questions when looking closer at the latest villain of the MCU. Robert Downey Jr. is currently set to play Doctor Doom in the next two Avengers films. But there's certainly room to interpret what that actually means in the context of his character. In a technical sense, Doctor Doom is just a title. It's been previously held by several characters with no literal relation to the Von Doom name, such as Reed Richards, Channa, and even Tony Stark, most recently in multiverse-focused mobile games. These are all examples that exist across the multiverse, as well. Whose turn in the identity is based on audiences recognizing the difference from what characters normally represent. Secret Wars may be the only time a uniquely alternative take on an iconic character could work in film, and even if Robert Downey, Jr. doesn't return as Iron Man, he could still be Tony Stark. This concept of a non-Von Doom identity is supported by the places Robert Downey, Jr. isn't planned to appear as well. The casting announcement included Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, but wasn't mentioned as part of Fantastic Four: First Steps by its director. If this intended version of Doctor Doom isn't present within the Fantastic Four's universe or dynamic, he would lack Victor Von Doom's core character dynamics. Using the character of Victor Von Doom for such an abbreviated role would be a disservice to his character potential within the MCU. But using his alias to twist one of the cinematic universe's most beloved icons into someone who portends how bad the real thing is, and how much worse he could be, could work well. It sounds like an idea that's the best of both worlds on paper, though it would need a strong plot foundation to live up to its potential. Marvel faces a two-fronted problem in crafting their Phase 5 finale. The studio needs an idea for a story that can not only suit the scale of an Avengers finale, but one that can satisfyingly start and end within its runtime. With the Phase 5 finale's emphasis on the multiverse, and this lack of time to prepare, Ultimate Invasion could be serving as a quiet, yet prominent source of inspiration. Within its 4-issue run is a surprising and succinct twist on one of Marvel's most iconic heroes that could perfectly cater itself to the blockbuster potential of Secret Wars. The narrative, ideological, and multiversal compatibility between them is no coincidence, of course. Both Ultimate Invasion and the most recent Secret Wars comics supposedly inspiring the film were written by Jonathan Hickman. And despite the irony of the situation, his latest Kang the Conqueror, a likely future version of Earth-6160's Tony Stark, would be the perfect base for Re-JG's Doctor Doom. Earth-6160 Kang's story as a corrupted redeemer, and his decay into a tragic but unstoppable villain against his own world, suits the cinematic scale of a two-part Avengers adventure. He wields the power of a multiversal villain, but at his core, tells the story of a man whose thirst for revenge and redemption corrupted who he was. Using the audience's familiarity with Tony Stark, or more specifically Robert Downey, Jr. This story could be adapted to create a villain whose fall will be easy to understand, because audiences already know how he was supposed to rise. If Avengers Doomsday isn't looking to make Robert Downey, Jr. a one-off version of Victor Von Doom, it's very likely they'll make him a version of Tony Stark that fell victim to the multiverse's cruel twists of fate. Should that be the case, the most likely source of inspiration will be Ultimate Invasion's Tony Stark, and it's an incredibly exciting prospect. The story of Robert Downey, Jr. and the Russo brothers' return to Marvel is still being written, as is their story of Doctor Doom. The specifics of who the character will be, what he'll pull from, and how he'll ultimately be portrayed in the context of Re-JG's previous turn as Iron Man are all unclear. However, an obvious template for who he should be has already been created. Ironically, it exists as the origin of Earth-6160 version of Kang the Conqueror, Phase 5's original intended overall antagonist. But within it are the makings of the perfect variant to pit against the Avengers for the grand finale of the MCU's multiverse madness.